Still messing around with this tablet, trying to play around with the settings to see if I can get, the display screen to work the way I want it to, but it doesn't look like it. And I needed to adjust my armature for this new tablet that I'm using, and I backed it up a little from where I had it yesterday, so hopefully, you know, things are looking a little bit better. So I don't think my fingers take up half the screen anymore whenever I try to do that. But anyways, man, I am GMrDrew, and I would like to welcome you all to another episode of the Andrew Glowczewski Experience, episode 38. I'm calling this one Water Bank because, like I said, I wanted to get to this part right here. So this little like riverway type of situation thing that's happening here, that kind of leads to the Dragon Mountain thing. So yeah, we got this one that I worked on yesterday, and this is essentially kind of where this riverbed leads to. Um, yeah, geographically or whatever you want to call it. So without further ado, I want to get started on it again. I'm starting a little bit late, messing with the tablet, not getting things set up the way I want to. I had to go catch up on some things. I got the microphone right up on my face, so I don't know. Uh, we determined yesterday that it was that extra extension wire that was making the clicking sound for the microphone. So hopefully that is the case, and that I don't have it connected today, so it shouldn't be clicking. So yeah, we'll see, because it will either click or not click. All right, let me see. All right. So yeah, I'm gonna fill in this square today, and hopefully we won't spend too much time on it, but we might actually end up doing that. Um, I got my references pulled up for this. I think it's gonna be dope. I think it's gonna look super cool. I'm just trying to figure out the scale because I'm working so small of how much can I do with trying to fit all this information in such a small thing, but still get the idea across. And honestly, I don't think it's gonna. I might be overthinking it, as per usual. So I'm just gonna get into it, and hopefully this works out. So essentially, this is gonna go like that. And yeah, so I finally caught up on that that Mortal Kombat trailer. Holy shit. People was not lying. People was not lying one bit. Yeah, I'm just drawing all my guides. And I don't know how many more of these I'm gonna need to do before I get on to the characters. I know I got some props and some other little town focuses that I want to do. Um, but maybe I might just jump straight to characters because I think these are all hitting the main highlights of at least this part of town and how much I need to do here. I'd like to move on and get away from the Winter Wonderland and move towards the next landmass, which is going to be mostly like jungle type stuff, and then there's a little bit more uh, environments and a little bit more like characters. There's a little bit more of everything. It's like another step up from this one, except it'll be all jungle themed and not snow themed. Um, but anyway, let me try to get this. Now I wonder if I got some. Oh yeah, I still got a whole lot for this place. Man, I haven't even looked at these yet. I I have so many references. So yeah, maybe I will stick around with the Winter Wonderland for a little bit longer. Forgive me, I'm just looking at some stuff. Okay. So yeah, what was I talking about? Did I mention I finally watched the Mortal Kombat trailer? Holy shit, that shit looks good. I remember reading a report where they were talking about the casting and people were automatically worried about the casting. And then they were talking about this character while I was watching the trailer. They were talking about this character, and I was like, I don't know who that character is. I'm guessing it's Kung Lao or something. And then it was like, nah, this is a completely new character. I was like, say what? And, and yeah, it was um, pretty wild. But yeah, man, that trailer is looking sick. They, I love the guy who's playing Scorpion. I don't want to sit there and say, oh, they casted Scorpion perfect. No, they got the right guy to do the job. Like they were like, yo, we got this. I love that guy. Ever since the Last Samurai with Tom Cruise. I think that's when I had learned about that actor, and he played the guy who was a little indifferent to Tom Cruise because they had I forget the guy's name who played like the leader of the samurai village that they all resided in. But yeah, there was um Ken. I want to say Ken Watanabe, but I'm getting Shinichiro Watanabe's name, unless it really is Watanabe. But either way, I, the name's escaping me right now. Um, but yeah, man, that guy. I don't want to say he's perfect for Scorpion. I just want to say that I'm happy that Scorpion got an actor of that caliber, of his talents and his skills and everything like that. Hey, what's up, JJ? How's it going, man? Oh, talking about yeah, I'm talking about the Mortal Kombat trailer. I finally watched it, and I was just talking about the casting that they did for Scorpion's character. They, they got the guy who you see often in any samurai or Japanese movie. He's been in all of them, and I was just talking about how I was introduced to that actor in the Tom Cruise movie, The Last Samurai, where he played like kind of the second in command or something. He was kind of like the badass of the crew, and then he ultimately ends up accepting Tom Cruise at the very end. But that was a long time ago when I learned about that guy, and because he played the indifferent guy, but he clearly had some skills, like just naturally with the swords and all that. And then I think more recently, because he played in Avengers Endgame, or yeah, Avengers Endgame, when we saw Hawkeye uh, be the bad guy and all that stuff, and when Hawkeye was going around taking out like Yakuza bosses in that little scene in that movie. Um, yeah, when they had all that going on, he played the Yakuza boss in there. Anytime they need a Japanese dude to swing a sword, he's kind of like the dude to get. And they hired that guy to play Scorpion. I'm so happy that they got someone like that to do Scorpion, someone who we know is capable of all that, the martial art background to do all the things, and a face that we recognize. Like, man, it's so cool. You haven't seen The Last Samurai? It's kind of old. I want to say it probably came out like 10, 15 years ago. And it was the Tom Cruise samurai movie. But yeah, man, um, either way, they hired that guy. I think is perfect. I'm just excited for that. I don't care how much screen time he gets. I don't care. Uh, I don't care about anything other than seeing that. Honestly, after seeing that trailer, I was like, okay, I'm all in. I'm all in just for that guy. Because if he's a part of it, then they're at least gonna treat this with a some respect. And oh wait, what do I want to do? I want to do this. And more recently, that actor, he was in Westworld, the HBO series, and there's a part of that world. He is the go-to Japanese guy for Hollywood movies. Yeah. But he was in Westworld more recently, and in Westworld, they have all those fake worlds that they created, and they have like Japan and Germany, and they have the old West, um, whatever. That whole show and what it's about, and he played another one of those, like in Shogun World, where it's like the old feudal Japan uh, theme park, I guess, for that show. He played like kind of one of the main like Ronin characters, and he was great in that too, man. I love that guy. Not seen that either. It's a HBO series, and it's an updated version. It's a TV series on HBO that's based off of movies that were made back in the 70s, or maybe some made a long time ago, before our time. And yeah, yeah, Westworld's badass. But they got the right guy to play Scorpion. The trailer, he looked badass. Um, Playing Scorpion. It looks like they're going in. It looks like they're doing it right. Um, there we go. Do that. Do that. Okay. And but yeah, then they end the trailer out with Scorpion. It is my favorite part, where they have the man go, "Get over here," and he does it, but he doesn't have the American voice like that we all know and is iconic in the video games. Westworld, not seen that either. Badass, need to check it out. Yeah, yeah, it's a good show. It's a little wild and crazy because it's all about like futurism and kind of where society will be in the future and how the theme parks are going to be. At least that popular theme park, the way that it's set up is like how, um, because the future we're going to be missing out on life, because everything is so roboticized and everything like that. They they had to create these theme parks to recreate kind of like the thrill of life of living. So they have like Shogun World for samurai type stuff and the West World for the cowboy type stuff. And it's a bit sad, but also it makes for good science fiction. So yeah, it's definitely worth checking out. Um, but yeah, back to the Mortal Kombat. They had to. He was all Japanese about it. He's like, "Get over here," and I was just like, "Oh my god!" Like, I don't know. I dig it. I dig it. I haven't played any of the Mortal Kombat video games since the third one on the Super Nintendo. So my recollection of Scorpion is, he's always, especially based off of the old movie too. He's kind of like he has that American voice. Even though he's a Japanese aesthetic, he's kind of like a white guy. And then even in the old movie, I don't know who played him, but he didn't look Japanese. He could have been though. Who knows? So because he never looked Japanese, and it always gave Mortal Kombat the ability to kind of play around with with themes and culture and things like that. And that's what I've liked about Mortal Kombat is like, oh, okay, this isn't based in the real world, clearly. So kind of anything's possible. So it always makes it a little bit harder to ground Mortal Kombat into into our reality, just because it's so wild. But I like that wild nature about it. Um, but yeah, so I'm excited for that. Sub Zero's a total badass in that trailer. Oh, does he? He speaks English with a Japanese accent in the more recent games. Yeah, let me pull up. I got a new tablet, and this tablet doesn't show me the most recent uh, thing in chat. So I always got to pull up my old chat. So give me a second to pull up my manager. And then that way I could see the most recent thing said on there. It's a little annoying, but I think that this tablet's better. I think it might even be recording better and things like that. So, but yeah, and to me, that's what Mortal Kombat's always been about. It's always been about the ninjas. Like I said, the last game I played was Mortal Kombat 3 for the Super Nintendo, and uh, trilogy aside, there was nothing but cyborg characters and ninja characters, and those versions of the game. So to me, Mortal Kombat was always like ninjas and robots and 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 kung fu essentially. Which hey, sign me up. But yeah, this trailer really set it off. And I wonder what they're doing, man. I just recently learned about the lore in Mortal Kombat, like where they've taken it, and like I never really knew much about the Noob Saibot character, but then when I learned, oh, Noob Saibot is the old Sub Zero, and there's a newer Sub Zero who's more of a good guy, and he kind of replaced the old Sub Zero. I never knew that because I didn't keep up with the games. So, but apparently that's the case. And I'm wondering if that's kind of the road that they're going to be taking with this story, is having Sub-Zero play the bad guy, and clearly he's going to be kind of like a I don't know, like he's going to be the introduction to the bad guys. So there's going to be like Shang Tsung and Shao Kahn and Goro and all the guys who always play uh, bad guys and things like that. That's weird. All right, sorry about that. I'm getting these notifications and I'm like, who are these people? Isn't it always weird when strangers hit you up? How do you remember all that stuff? I don't remember what I had for dinner yesterday. I have no idea, man. I'm a fan of this stuff. I love it. You know what I mean? I love this stuff. Uh, so I look into it a lot because, like I said, I was away from Mortal Kombat, and it. I mean, I hate to say it, but there's probably a better way to say it. But I wasn't like too impressed with where Mortal Kombat ended up going and things like that after three. I mean, I think Trilogy for the N64 was probably the best looking because it was just Mortal Kombat 3, but with every character ever. So it just had a bigger roster. I would say that that's peak Mortal Kombat, in my opinion. But that's because I'm an old head, you know, who played the games in the 90s. Where. Okay. So I'm flipping through my references. I started jumping around some, which I shouldn't have done. I should just have focused on what I'm working on here. But yeah, so yeah, it was super dope trailer. It looks so good. It they introduced a new character um, to it all, and people are feeling a way about it, and I'm kind of interested in the new character for I guess the director or the creator of the show said like, well, Mortal Kombat always is always introducing new characters, and we're making a movie and we're introducing a new character, no different than what the video games have done. And it's like, all right, enough said, man. Yeah, say less. You don't have to tell me twice. You're not lying about the fact that they introduce characters. So we'll see what they do with them. But I wonder. There's two ways that this new character can go. There's the way. Oh, the story behind today's thing. So it's like I was talking about yesterday. Going back to this map. There's like this little riverway down here, and it's kind of like the water source for at least the people that live in the mountains over here. So yeah, it's so far it's like here's the river flow. So we're super zoomed out from it right now, where you can still see the mountain, the super spiky mountain peaks that are flush up against it. So there's like this wall, this rock wall, and then here's the river. So it's like rapids basically, because all this water has nowhere to go, so it just shoots. And here just in the corner here is just another rock wall from the other side of the bank. So it's just kind of saying like, this is a very narrow path, of rushing water, pretty dangerous and whatever. But this is kind of where all like a marina or a docking bay, or just where people go to collect the water, to source it, and then I'm gonna draw like a city, and that whole favela system that I created kind of in this picture, and like these sort of structures, like this little society that lives out here. Um, Obviously, we're super zoomed out, so it's not going to be in detail, but the whole town is going to be back here, and hopefully it'll be a good enough wide shot where I show like, oh, okay, so it's kind of like a bustling city, and it kind of, even though it's still like kind of small ice town folk, and then it's going to be like weaved in and out with mountains, because obviously they're in a very mountainy region. So yeah, that's what's going to be kind of here. But the whole focal point is just, how do they get water? How do these people get the main thing that people need to live? So it's like, this is the water source, this is the town, and and look at it. The main character is going to end up here sometime in the story. Yes, the main character ends up in this river, specifically. Um, and it's super dope. It's kind of like a chase sequence. And yeah, so here's like a lift bay, a docking bay for boats and whatever to come up and down. Pulley system, it's not like zoomed in, so I'm not getting into details, but it's like basically, okay, boats that want to get pulled in and docked and pulled into the city, so that way they can get out of the shooting rapids and park their boat, off to the side or off into the city somewhere. Like there's a system, like a lift system here, and then here's the steps for people to like walk up and down the wall to it, and then just like some docking again for boats to stop by and drop things off, or for people to come and collect the water and things like that. So it's basically the whole city that's going to be back here. The whole everything is, they kind of funnel to right here as a water source. And I don't know, maybe there's like multiple versions of this, since it's so big and there's so many mountains and things like that. So maybe there's like a few of them, but this is just one of them. This is kind of like just me getting the idea and the concept out there. Because last thing I want is people to ask me, well, how do these people live? Where do they get water from? And then me not have like an answer for it to you know make it believable and make the world just that much more living. But yeah, the main character does end up in this river, and it's a super dope chase sequence, and it introduces a part of the world that is, it goes from here to just something that's even more badass. It's what I'll be working on next once I get around to it. But I'm kind of enjoying all this ice stuff. So I might be here for a little bit The whole point of this is to create concept art and to show companies. I mean, yeah, I'm working on my show for sure, um, but also to put in my portfolio and show companies that I'm capable of creating concept art. So when I apply to these concept positions, um, it's not so they could see like, oh, okay, this guy can create environments and buildings and do concepts and things like that. So if there's ever like a junior position open, I can, hopefully get in on those jobs that have eluded me. So yeah, I'm just gonna draw like the mountains kind of in the background here, and the mountains being all these crazy things. So let's say that the water source is somewhere down here, and the camera's shooting this way. It's gonna be like showing all the mountainous region back here. Yeah, so these mountains kind of curve around, almost in something like a circle, I guess. Something like a half circle before it connects and attaches to the next continent over. Hey man, thanks for stopping by, JJ. I see you gotta go. If you're still streaming, like cover the whole thing. Yeah, for sure, man. Thanks for stopping by. And you can always stop by later. I'll be back. It is what it is, man. You have a good one. Peace. Okay. Oh yeah, so that's gonna be that mountain piece. So that's kind of like that. And these are like those. And then it's nothing but clouds and sky up here. Well, that was cool, man. That was cool of him to stop by. Man, so what was I talking? I was talking about the Mortal Kombat stuff. So yeah, my thoughts on this new Mortal Kombat character. Um, I think there's one of two ways that they could take it. They could take it in a direction of we're introducing this character, and then he ends up being in the next video game, and they're gonna do their best to try to be a staple, and us as active participants in the whole Mortal Kombat uh, you know NetherRealm works, or who's the company that creates Mortal Kombat? Either way, um, that they move forward with this character and they start in the next video game or the next patch in the most recent video game. What is it, MK11 now? Um, that they introduce him and his powers and this, that, and the other, which is what I think most people think that they're trying to do. Something that's a little more interesting to me, and I think what would be kind of cool for them to to do is kind of the red herring route, and I think that this may be where they go with that Cody character as well. Apparently, the actor playing him is something of a big deal. I don't know too much about the man, so maybe they won't do this just because the guy is the actor playing him is like popular or whatever. Uh, are we not focused? Oh no. Hold on. Focus. There we go. There we go. We're focused. Okay. Oh, that's scary. That scares me the most. Is saying that the camera's not focused. I'm hoping that it was while JJ was here, so that way, because he wasn't saying like I can't see ish. So um all right, cool. So you can see what I was doing. I was just throwing some clouds up in here to let you know, like, these mountain peaks are so high that the clouds are covering them. I didn't want to do that in the map because obviously the whole point of the map is to show the lay of the land. You can't show the land if you're showing clouds uh, blocking it, unless the clouds are playing a significant part of that terrain or whatever. But at least in these concepts, I could at least throw that in there. Very similar to this one where you can see like it's like a sea of clouds. I was actually looking at this picture and being like, I wonder if this is how I kind of want to do the river, and having like the banks be this way and that way. But I was like, nah, these are clouds and these are the tip tops of the mountains. I got to do the base of the mountains on this one. So, so yeah, we got the clouds up here, and you can see that they're cutting into the tip tops of the mountains and all that. And then we're still gonna have all the people in the city within here. I think this is gonna be dope. It's already turning out so much better than I anticipated. Again, I just work on these things, and I allow them to take me wherever they want to go. That's part of the reason why it's exciting to work on shit that you don't normally work on, because you don't know what kind of result you're going to get. And as long as you stick to it, you're going to get better. Um, so I'm enjoying this thoroughly, which is why I may stick around and do some more stuff like that. But either way, um, the other route that they could take, this Cody character, I believe is the name, is they introduce him in the movie to give us a character that we care about. And here's the thing about Mortal Kombat. It's Mortal Kombat. It's in the title of like, your mortality is at risk here, sir. Like, don't come here expecting to just live and be good and be cool. No, this is Mortal Kombat. We are killing people here. You seen these fatalities? Check out this fatality, son. Rah! And then they and then they tear you apart. And it's like, I'm gonna bite your whole head off, or I'm gonna blow you up, or I'm gonna chop you into pieces. This is Mortal Kombat, son. This has always been a thing about why I think they struggle to make it, not because of the gore aspect, but of the killing aspect. Yeah, people can come back to life, and they do in that series. I think, what was it, Liu Kang, most recently, like died and came back. Hustle with the lyrics as if it's a game of crack, type of style. Like I heard Liu Kang did it, most recently. So it's like, yeah, people could die and come back in the series, but you don't want to do it so much. So it's like they can't do it so much. They got to save it for an important character that we've lived and grown with, like Liu Kang. But in order to sell the mortality portion of the name of the series, is like, yeah, you gotta um Oh, is that what I want to do? Yeah, that's what I want to do. Sorry. You gotta um you gotta keep the characters that we love alive long enough to tell a story compelling enough. And if characters are gonna die, obviously we want to care for those characters as much as we can before they die. That way their death has impact. Um, and we don't want to. All right, here we go. Maybe I should just draw these things in. So you can't just like introduce characters and then kill them off right away. If you play Mortal Kombat, you know you're performing fatalities almost every single match. Like characters are dying, but because it's a video game and you go back to the character select screen, boom, the character's still there. It's not like you kill a character, you give them a fatality, and now that character's no longer available. Um, couldn't sustain a series if that were the case. Like but that's how it works in video games. Now, if you want to make a movie of it, and you want to kill these characters, or part of the whole thing is to kill the character. I think that's why Mortal Kombat's been so difficult to tell, is because it's like, look, we need to murk fools, but we also need to keep fools alive. Uh, how is I'm gonna do that type of thing? And I think that's the thing that they've probably struggled with the most, is to make things like that happen. Oh yeah, let me start grabbing this one. If I'm gonna be shading and I don't want to spend a million hours on this, let me start stepping up my rendering. I noticed I was shading with the red one a while ago, and I was just like, why? I know I always want to shade with the blue pencil. So we have the conundrum of like, yo, we want to keep the characters we love alive, but we want to kill people, but we don't want it to be so blatantly obvious that we're just killing the bad guys and not killing the good guys. And movies these days, they franchise. You're getting a trilogy at least, whether anyone has said anything or not. If this movie's successful, which it looks like it will be, um, it's an automatic two more. It's an automatic two more. I know we got two Mortal Kombat movies in the past. We had the first one, which is amazing. The second one, which was and that's why people may want to suggest like, we're not going to get a trilogy. No, that's the way of the world now. That's the way it works now. If something's good, we're gonna remake it ASAP, so we can capitalize on it, and that's fine. Like it's not bad or anything like that they do that. I mean, hell, we just get more awesomeness sooner. So yeah, I welcome that. Um, so it's like, okay, now you have to keep in mind that maybe we want to make a trilogy. So it's like, okay, if we're gonna make a trilogy, we can't kill off all the main characters. We can't kill Sonya Blade, Liu Kang, and Jax, and and Cody, and we can't kill everybody like off rip. But we have a video game that's about killing everybody off rip. Uh, what to do, what to do. And this is where I think this Cody character may come in for the sake of the movies. Is they give us a character who we don't care about coming into the movie, but then as we watch the movie, we learn to care about him because it's like, oh, Cody's actually kind of cool. He shoots fireball with his toes. Is some shit. You know what I mean? Like he does something because I don't think we know what his powers are just yet. So then it's like, okay, well, what do we do if we need good guys to die in order to not have it just be bad guys dying, so that way people know like, oh, they're a good guy, they're gonna be safe. You want to make the feeling of nobody's safe, so you have to kill some good guys. You can't just kill bad guys. So because you got to do that, and because uh, you have a limited roster, and you need to make this roster work across a trilogy potentially. But you still need to tell a compelling story the first time, so that way you can get to the second story. There's all this juggling that's going on. There's so much juggling going on in order to make something like this happen. Um, what to do? What to do? Let's introduce a character that they don't care about, that we make them care about because we give them the dopest dope they've ever smoked, and and uh, and then we kill them off. Let's kill off Cody. Let's say like he doesn't go into the next video game. Let's say he doesn't matter. Let's red herring this shit. Let's make the people think that he matters. Let's you know and we give him the arc. He's in the show. He's the main character. He does all the shits. He he fights people. He does badass shit. We learn to care about him. We're like, holy shit, Cody's awesome. I can't wait to play him in the next game. You know, like who knew that this could happen? And then what? He gets taken out by Sub Zero or Shang Tsung at the end, because obviously, maybe not Sub Zero. Sub Zero is going to be like kind of the bad guy that they chase throughout the movie, I'm sure. Uh, but obviously, we've seen Shang Tsung in it, so he's going to be there. And then, maybe Shang Tsung be like, "Yo, uh, Cody, you lose. Your soul is mine." And then boom. And then Cody gets got. And then Cody dies. And we've watched this character. We learned to love him. He did some awesome shit. We were speculating on playing him all within the viewing. Is this a show or a movie? I mean, I think it's a movie. I think I would love a show, but budgets and all that other stuff. So yeah, I think it's a movie. Who knows? Who knows? Who cares? Um, but either way, all within this movie, we go through the motions with Cody's character. And they kill him off. What do you think that does for the other for the characters that we know and love? Who's with Cody? Sonya, Liu Kang, Jax, Kano. I mean, at least in the trailer, Kano was with him. I'd like to think that Kano's obviously going to ultimately play a bad guy, even though he's hanging out with the good guys at the moment. He might end up trading one of them. Maybe that's what happens. Maybe Kano's a traitor, and he's the one who fucks up Cody in the end, thinking that, oh, we're just palling around here, we're not gonna kill each other, and then Shang Tsung be like, finish him, and then boom, Kano kills Cody, and now we've established, oh, Kano's not a good guy, even though he's been chilling, rolling with the good guys all movie. Oh, we did get bad Kano, and we got it in the best way because he just killed the character, the main character that we know and love, who isn't a stable character just yet. It's the way to tell the story in a way that people can. It'll resonate with people. Like, oh my god, I can't believe Kano did that. But you can believe Kano did that because that's what Kano does. And I can't believe that they would do that to Cody, but I can believe that they could do that because obviously we're not going to let Kano kill Liu Kang because Liu Kang's got to fight Shang Tsung. Like shit like that. Where it's like, we constantly and now we're on our toes because now we've made it through one movie. We have our Cody sacrificial lamb, and now we're gonna roll into the second movie, and we don't have Cody no more. Now we have the characters that we know and love. Uh, Liu Kang, Sonya, Jax, Johnny Cage is certainly gonna pop up. I don't know if he was in the trailer. I was too focused on Scorpion the whole time. Uh, but yeah. So now you go into the second movie, and now the second movie is basically the first Mortal Kombat movie that we have, where now it's like Liu Kang's the main character. Liu Kang had a connection with Kano, or Cody. Kano's on the side of Shang Tsung. Um, uh, I was talking about uh, Sub Zero. Oh, maybe I didn't mention this on the stream just yet. Maybe I did, but I'm kind of jumping all over the place. But uh, essentially, this movie being the success that it looks like it's going to be will set up for a second movie, and I think as far as where we can take this new Cody character, I think that could be his whole purpose is to work one way or another. Either he's going to become a stable character in the Mortal Kombat series. They don't kill him off. They don't do this and that. They. And yeah, that's the two routes that they go with this new character. That's how I feel about that. I think that would be the best, but again, um, I'm nobody, and that's what I mean. I was talking last night. I was re-watching my stream from last night, and I was listening to me talk about how I have like a Wolverine character is like a Wolverine character, and just saying things like that. I'm sure automatically sounds like, oh, so you stole Wolverine. And it's like, no, 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 no. That's what I mean by you can have thoughts and you can have characters or story and all this stuff without stealing anything from anybody, because I just introduced two concepts to this one story and which way it can go. And now HBO is going to tell the, you know, who knows, maybe they'll tell a story completely different. I'm completely off. But at least I always look at like two sides of a coin. There's always two directions that things can go. Obviously, there's more than two. There's an infinite amount of directions that things can go. But as far as like the world that we live in and how content is created and all that other stuff, um, there's really only two places. I shouldn't say really, but you know what I'm trying to say. There's two places this can go. It's either going to go the good way or the bad way, essentially, to simplify it. It's either going to go well or it's going to go not so well. And I would prefer it to go the not so well for Cody route, just because now when they go the trilogy route and they do the second movie, now the second movie we could be a little bit more relaxed. It's the second movie out of a trilogy. We can kill off some of our main characters that we know and love. We can kill off Liu Kang. We know he comes back in the video game, so maybe he'll come back to life in the third one. And they'd be like, how come we couldn't do it with Cody? And then they actually do it with Cody at the end of the third one. And that's how they get both. They kill him off, they bring him back, and they bring, because he comes back at the end of the third movie, he's going to be in Mortal Kombat 12 as one of the starting rosters. And they'll be like, oh my God, it's Cody from the movie. I'm going to buy this game because I want to shoot fireballs from my toes too, and stuff like that. Now I'm getting stupid. uh, I need some water. Hold on. Give me a second. Are we still focused? Yeah, we focused. You can see the town starting to come together. We're super zoomed out from it, so you don't really see too much. A couple of main buildings, but then infusing it. I always saw this town to have a whole lot of flags. And yeah, well, we'll see. It's like the it's just like, sorry, I'm rocking this camera. It's just like here where I have these flags hanging off, and they blow in the wind and all that stuff. It's also just another tell. It's also to keep filter clouds and all that other stuff. So when it runs through, these things kind of beat away a bit of the wind and things like that. Obviously, they're just like flags, so they're not gonna do much. But the same thing here, where they kind of direct the city. I have it leading to a light post. That's something I just kind of figured out on the fly, and then I'm gonna throw some extra lights, like in the distance there, to let it know, like, oh, okay, so there's like a whole city and town back there. But obviously, I can't render it out from this distance. But hey, it is what it is. I'm drinking some water. I gotta use the bathroom. Here. BRB, baby. All right, I'm back. So yeah, these are the things I'm thinking about with the Mortal Kombat trailer. Dude. I'm so inspired by it, man. It's a really good trailer. I'm so excited for it. I'm happy. I'm happy that me being an '80s baby, growing up in the '90s, and seeing what's happened with Mortal Kombat since I was a kid and where it's ended up and where it's gone. The video games are good. They're alive and well and all that stuff. So regardless of my opinion of anything, um, it is what it is. I'm not gonna love everything, which is fine. I respect it all. First and foremost, which is I would say probably the most important thing, is to like respect these things and respect the creators and all that stuff. So even though I look at with the old Mortal Kombat with favor, um, and the new joints not so much. It's fine. I watch other people play, and I still enjoy it. And they've done the crossovers with DC, and I'm a huge DC guy. I love DC. I love the concept, but I always knew it was weird about, like, you got Mortal Kombat that's all about murdering people, and then you introduce Superman, and it's like, I mean, they did their thing in order to make that crack, but I don't know. It was always kind of a little loosey goosey to me. But the you got to try things out. You got to do things. You, you know, you got to try it. If you don't, and I think that's what I'm trying to say, is that I commend any and all effort to do something. I mean, it's beautiful when you have people at the top, when you got NetherRealm Games at the top, and they're like, let's try some shit. Let's try this new. Let's try these new joints. Oh, you can't make a super bad Superman? Watch this. Watch me do this. And then they go and do it. And it gets received however it gets received. I know some people love it, and some people hate it, and then there's people like me who are kind of in the middle, where it's like, that was cool. It was cool that they did that. Did I play the game? Nah. But it's cool that they did that. Um, so yeah, I'm super excited for that movie. After hearing things about the casting, and people were like, kind of, I don't know about this actor. How is he gonna fit in the Mortal Kombat universe? And uh, I think I think that trailer is probably quieted people for a minute. I'd love to see what the second trailer is gonna look like. I'm sure they'll probably highlight Cody a little bit more in the second trailer, um, just to be like, okay, we all know that we got this character, and we all know that nobody knows what he does and what his powers are, and how he fits into this thing. So here's going to be the Cody trailer. And then we see Cody, and it's like, oh my God, he's so great. And stuff like that. Um, but yeah, super excited. For this movie. It really got you know, my creativity, my creative mind kind of going, which is always a gift. You know what I mean? If you created something and it makes people want to create, that's that's success. You're successful at that point. Regardless of where this ends up, and how it's received, in the end, it'll always be like, Yeah, but that shit was badass. I mean, look at how people look back on the original Mortal Kombat movie with so much, I don't know what the word is, fervor, favor. Um, how much we all just loved it. I will never forget Sub-Zero's stance when he faced off against Liu Kang. That silhouette of the two of them facing off against each other, and Liu Kang looked like mad stiff, even though he's the main character, and you know he gonna fuck shit up. And then here comes Sub-Zero standing mad and not like the video game, all like a crab and shit, wide legged, low, like is like, nah, you supposed to stand, shoulders up and bopping back and forth and shit. Like, why you standing like a crab all sideways and wide legged and shit? But it's like, nah, I will never forget that, and I don't even knock the movie for doing that. I love that shit. So this is another opportunity for something like that to happen, and for the next generation to have, to have this to grow up with, and to look at that, and to revere it for, you know until they get old and have to become professionals and work and continue to play the games and all this shit. Like, oh my god, it's so cool. It's so cool, man. I love that I fucking love Scorpion. I love that the casting for Scorpion. Let me be real. One, I love Scorpion, and two, I love that actor. So three, that's what I'm going to be focusing on whenever I watch whenever I watch it. That's going to be my main focus. However that does, that's how the movie did for me. Hey Andrew, what'd you think of the movie? Scorpion. That's what I think about the movie. Scorpion. And I'm like, oh, okay. Word. Like, yeah. um, Super exciting. Get over here. I wonder if he's gonna drop a "come here" on us. Sorry if I'm all up on the microphone when I said that. I was trying to keep it low because the mic is in my face. I don't want to yell into the mic, man. Is this a little too much? Too much energy. But yeah, some people were upset that they were like, "Oh no, he's kind of Japanese-ish with the get over here." It's like, nah, I don't want that guy to play like the American voice over him. Like, oh, he's all Japanese all day every day, and then once he puts on the scorpion mask and we can't see his mouth anymore, now all of a sudden he sounds like, you know an American. No, thank you. I'll take deep voice samurai guttural Japanese, uh, whatever homeboy's name is, any day of the week, over that aesthetic. That being said, the Scorpions Get Over Here is iconic for a reason, and yeah, that American voice does go with it. I'm not trying to shit on that at all. I mean, I love it. But when you pair it over a Japanese actor, like, nah, no thanks. There we go. All right, we still focus. All right, we good. We good. How's this gonna look? These are kind of like basic buildings. They're not fancy. I mean, they're right on the lake bed. They're kind of in a dangerous position. You don't want to build the dopest dope ever. That's more of like when you're at the dock and you have to go pay to go refill on gas or shit, and it's just like some regular sticks and stones type of building. Or structure. Yeah. Man, I was gonna talk about something else too. Oh, yeah. I was just watching Chris D'Elia on YouTube. He just posted a video today for the first time in a long time, but, because of all the drama and stuff that he's been going through, and I haven't kept up with it at all. I'm not exactly sure what he did or people accused him of or anything like that. All I know is that I was a fan. I saw him live right before the pandemic kicked off. He was down in Florida. So whenever the last time he was in Florida, right before March of 2020, I went to go see him live, which was probably that January or something like that, or February even. Um, but yeah, I went to go see him, and I'm a fan of the guy. I listen to the podcast. I love his stand up comedy, all that stuff. But yeah, I understand that he's had some problems with something along the lines of like being accused of I guess like sexual things. I don't know. A lot of people were being attacked at the time about stuff like that, so it was kind of all up in the air. And I'm a fan of all that comedy and all that stuff, and obviously nobody should ever be victimized, and it doesn't matter who's doing it. Like nobody ever deserves that, and it's wrong, and don't do that. And again, I don't know all the details and things like that, but I do know that I'm a fan of his comedy, and I do know that he kind of went dark for a minute, and which puts someone like me who's not keeping up with it in a position of like, ooh, maybe he did do some shit, because like why be in the dark about it if you're not, like, I don't need to know the situation in order to understand the situation. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, uh, but I will say that I'm glad that he posted something recently. As a fan, um, I've missed him. I've gone back to think about like watching his old podcasts and old jokes and things that never left me, like when he mimics Michael Caine, and he's like, yeah, Michael Caine is in every movie, and they just call up Michael Caine. He's like, I'll do it. What's the part? I'll do it. Like when he does that on the podcast, like I love that shit and I miss that shit. And you know, hey, as long as he's not a monster, I guess like I support that shit. But like, yeah, so to see him post something was nice. And then I watched it. It was only like a 9-minute post or something like that. And oh wait, oh no, I guess I'll just let that ride like that. Yeah, I guess I'll just let that ride like that. So I knew it was gonna be one of those like, hey, this is awkward. I'm back. Like, like this is what's up. This is what's happened, and it's exactly what I've been expecting if and when he would ever come back. That this would be how he comes back, is to like kind of address it and whatever it is, and that's when I was waiting to learn about anything and everything that may have happened. And apparently, you know, like I didn't keep up with it, so I didn't know. But yeah, he manned up. He admitted to some shit, and he's trying to get better, and da 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 da. And I think that's great. Uh, Again, don't know the details. Don't know the details. I know the energy surrounding the situation, and uh, I'm glad to see that he addressed it, that he's back, that he did it, and that he's trying to do better. Like I guess you had mentioned a kid and wanting to be the role model for his kid, and I don't even know if I knew he had a kid or not. But yeah, that's kind of important if you're gonna be a man and you're gonna raise a kid to not victimize women. You know what I mean? I'm a big Tupac fan. Uh, Tupac always talked about um, like the strength of women and things like that, and the strength of a mother and things like that. So if he has a kid, it means he has a baby's, his kid has a mother. So he's in that realm, in that circle. So for him to be like, hey, I wanna do right, not just for me, not just for who he, uh, whatever he's accused of and all that stuff. Like I don't, I didn't keep up with that, but he's just like, I wanna do right by all of it, and I wanna be this and that. And I thought it was a great video, great way to address it, great way to come back. I mean, I don't know where it's gonna lead to, if he's just gonna jump straight back into things, or if this was just like like a real quick pop in, hey, this is what's up, and then he's gonna kind of slow roll back into the shits. Obviously, with the virus still out there, comedy's still a little bit dead. Um, so, but it is coming back, and whatever. It was just good to see. It was just good to see him. So, you know, big ups, big ups to him. Um, I hope he figures out whatever he needs to figure out. I hope that he can rectify any wrongdoings that he did, and that anyone who may have felt victimized by him, finds a bit of, what's the word, solace that I'm looking for, or something like that. But that they find some peace. People make mistakes. I mean, I certainly know that. I made a ton of mistakes. Um, I'd hate I'd hate for my mistakes to hold me back for the rest of my life, or to be judged by something that I may have done 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago, and have that be the definition of me and who I am, and things like that. Like, that would suck. That would so suck. What would be the point of living? If What would be the point of continuing life if your life was rendered to a moment that has already passed? Like, if that's all that life is, well then, and that moment's passed and it's over, well then life is over at that point. And it's like, but I'm still living, I'm still breathing, so life isn't over. But why? It gets into that weird place of things like that. So that's why I kind of celebrate and enjoy seeing his return. I think it's great. Uh, and yeah, I'm just glad to see him back. So I hope everything works out, and I hope we get to enjoy his comedy again. Super funny guy. Uh, he has kind of a silly goose approach to comedy. I believe, I'm a Brian Callen fan who was also going through some scrutiny at the same time. So this is a wild bit that I'm going through here. But just bear with me for a moment. I believe it was Brian Callen who brought him up, or you know what I mean, like let him open for him and things like that. So I believe they worked together, and and Brian also has that silly goose style of comedy, which we don't have enough of. Um, just a little bit about me and my background into the comedy world and all that other stuff is I for Christmas one time at a White Elephant, what I ended up getting were comedy show tickets to go see Russell Peters. I had never been to a comedy show in my life, but I was excited, and I got tickets to go see Russell Peters, and I didn't know what to expect. And this was I was 21 years old because you had to be 21 to get in. So I had just turned 21, and I'm 32 now. So this is 11 years ago now. Uh, and the show comes up, and I go to the show, and Russell Peters, anybody who knows the man, obviously I think a lot of people do. He's the most um, famous international comedian. I believe he's like Canadian, but has like an Indian background, and he's like international as far as his thing goes. Like, I'm in America, so like we have Dave Chappelle, who's like one of the greatest and best comedians out there, things like that. So he's like the international version of Dave Chappelle. Either way, he's a good. What I'm getting at was that was my first comedy show. That's my introduction to comedy, and I mean, who could ask for a better intro? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's probably as good as it gets. If you're gonna get started. So I enjoy the show, and I'm 21 years old, and I immediately want to go see more of this guy's work. So I look him up online. I literally I go to the search bar, and I type in Russell Peters and stand up comedy or something like that maybe. And it was 11 years ago. And what came up after I hit the search was this thing that said, one of the top search results 11 years ago was it said Russell Peters, who I just saw live like the day before, and I'm reeling from his show. It said Joe Rogan, and I'm like, oh, the Fear Factor guy. I know Joe Rogan. Oh, the UFC commentator. I know Joe Rogan. Okay. So Russell Peters, the hilarious comedian, Joe Rogan, and Deadmau5. And I was like, Deadmau5, he's the DJ. I was like, I know of him. I think I have him on my Pandora now, but I didn't listen to him back then at that point. But yeah, but I recognize the name, is what I'm saying. So I click on that link, and it's like it's the Joe Rogan Experience podcast, episode like 150, give or take. I forget the number exactly. But it's about episode 150. And I go, and at this point, I'm an artist. I've been drawing, and I draw nonstop, and I was 21 years old, so I was probably like screen printing at the time. Or I'd probably just started doing dye sublimation at the time. 21 years old, I was just graduating college, so I was I was either screen printing or just started dye sublimation. Either way, I go and I listen, and I'm used to listening to Pandora and listening to music while I work, as artists do. And I turn it on, and it's a podcast. And now podcasts are a dime a dozen nowadays. But back then, nobody really knew what it was. It's 2021. I'm 32 years old. We're talking 11 years ago. So we're talking 2010. In the year 2010, podcasts, yeah, there was some out there, but it was still a little obscure. It was still fringe. It was still like not everybody listened to it. It wasn't a talking point. Like you couldn't just bring up podcasts and everybody in the room knew what you were talking about. So I turn it on and I listen to it, and it's the Joe Rogan podcast. Nowadays it's the biggest podcast ever. I mean, the man just sold it to Spotify, or became Spotify exclusive. Unfortunately, because I don't have Spotify and I don't listen to it, and so I'm missing out on Joe Rogan Experience now. But still, I was listening to a Joe Rogan Experience podcast with Russell Peters, who I just saw, who was fucking hilarious, and Deadmau5, who I know of, and I, even though I didn't listen to him, I knew of him and knew that, like, he was kind of a big DJ, and Joe Rogan, who, I've seen on UFC probably most recently, but I know of him from Fear Factor. Growing up as a kid, used to watch that with the family whenever it came on. So it's like I'm watching this amazing conversation of these three guys just going at it, and Russell Peters, being the top-notch comedian that he is still bringing the heat. And Joe Rogan, I didn't know he was a comedian at that time. He's a comedian too. So he's vibing with Russell Peters, and they're talking comedy, and I was like, holy shit, like this is such a good conversation. And then Russell Peters, on top of that, is also a DJ, and he was like the bridge between Joe Rogan and Deadmau5, and you're having the most compelling content, most compelling conversation about music, which I love, comedy, which I now love, and which I was learning to love back then. And it was crazy. I immediately was like, I need more of this. And it said it was like episode 150, so I was like, there's more of this? And I thought it was like more Deadmau5, Russell Peters, Joe Rogan stuff, but it was like, no, this is the Joe Rogan podcast. This is Joe Rogan's thing. So it was 150 more of Joe Rogan, but I went to go listen to him anyways because it was like something to listen to other than music. And it didn't disappoint, man. It didn't disappoint. I listened to all the episodes. I back, that he had like loaded up and saved and whatever, like on back order or whatever. Like I went back and I listened to all 150 of those episodes. I caught up to the current one, and ever since like episode, I mean, before he was in the 200s, I was a Joe Rogan Experience podcast listening to motherfucker, and and uh and that was my introduction into comedy, was through Russell Peters, and into podcasting through Joe Rogan. And I still don't really listen to techno and all that other stuff, but I have Deadmau5 on my Pandora, so he'll pop up from time to time, and he serves as that memory for me, as the go-between, and he reminds me of podcasting and Russell Brand's stand-up comedy live and all that shit. But yeah, that was my introduction to those things. And then it was through watching Joe Rogan podcasts or Joe Rogan Experience, which, if it's not obvious, I think we know where I got the Andrew Glowczewski Experience from. Joe Rogan ripped it off of Jimi Hendrix. I'm ripping it off of Joe Rogan, who's ripping it off of Jimi Hendrix. And it has to be said in that order. I'm not just ripping off Joe Rogan. I'm a Jimi Hendrix fan too. I'm ripping off Joe Rogan, who's ripping off Jimi Hendrix specifically when I put this together. And that's why I did. I thought it was I think it's a fun name. I think it's a fun title. I think everybody will recognize what the hell I'm doing with the title. And plus it's exactly everything what it is. This is my experience. I do talk about my thoughts, my feelings, my experiences. That's the whole point of everything that I'm doing here. So I think it's valid. It's not like I call it the Andrew Glowczewski Experience and then I talk about current events and not implicate myself or not implicate my thoughts and ideas into that situation. That's what I plan on doing here, and that's what I'm going to continue to do. Obviously, it's I'd like to think we're all here to talk about art and stuff like that, but we're going to talk about other things too, especially when I don't have people live in the chat to talk to about things specifically. Then I'm just going to talk about the things that I want to talk about. For my sake and yours. Like, hopefully you find all this stuff interesting. But either way, it was through the Joe Rogan podcast that I learned about comedy and all that other stuff. And you go down the road. He's at like episode 1000 something now, and so that puts me at listening to 1,000 episodes easily. I put in a lot of time into listening to that stuff, and through with all that time listening and all that, it's become like, this is where I learned about Bryan Callen. Like, I knew him from like the Hangover movies or something. Uh, I was too young to know about him when he was like doing the TV show stuff, but that's where I learned about Brian Callen. It's where I learned about watching Brendan Schaub as a fighter, but also when they had that epic moment of Joe talking him out of fighting, got him into podcasting. Now Brendan Schaub's flourishing, doing better than he ever could have. So happy for him. But it's where I learned a lot about all these things, and Brian Callen being one of them, and Brian Callen being one of the guys to put Chris D'Elia on, and Chris D'Elia being one of the ones I didn't know about, and then both of these guys having their own podcast. I mean, both of them have recently gone through all those, the troubles that they've gone through recently with whatever they're accused of. Again, I don't really know. Like I said, I just hope everyone's okay. And me personally, I would, if they're true monsters, then yeah, lock them up. But if they're not locked up at this point, then they're not true monsters. And me being a person who believes in forgiveness and likes to think of the power of forgiveness and what it can do and what it can bring to people, I look forward to their return whenever that may be. Like, it seems like Brian's coming out of the woodworks a little bit recently, talking about stuff. He was most recently on his old podcast that he used to co-host with Brendan Schaub, The Fighter and the Kid. Saying all that to say that I was listening to the Chris D'Elia's video this morning, and this is why I'm happy for him. This is why I wish the best for him and everyone who's dealt with him and has to deal with him and whatever. Again, he said he mentioned having a kid, like, and he wants to do right by that kid. That was the walk away statement that I got from it, was wanting, because that's truth right there. Like, if you're a father, that's true. If you want to be a father figure to your kid, and me having a family and knowing about unconditional love and being aware of that, I think we all are. I don't think he's being like salacious or whatever with statements like that. That was the thing that resonated with me. That's why I feel like I could talk about him, hopefully, and not get crucified for saying things like that. I think my channel's a little too young to be able to afford crucifixions and unfollows and things like that because of the way that I feel about these things. But hey, man, if you feel so strongly in the opposite direction of me, then yeah, obviously I don't want to hold you to having to listen to me and all that stuff if you disagree with me. Like, I guess that's the whole point of all this, is to get the people who agree with me or who are willing to listen to my side of the story or anything like that, or listen to my thoughts, to get them to continue to listen. Just like I continue to listen to Brian Callen and Chris D'Elia. Like, I'm making a conscious decision to continue to listen to them. I think that if and when they bounce back from this, they're gonna have a really compelling story to tell, and it'll be something that we can all learn from. It'll be something that we can all be like, holy shit, there's hope. There's hope. You can bounce back. Life doesn't stop because of one moment. Life doesn't stop because of one mistake. life doesn't stop. Um, Obviously, sometimes it does, but in the cases of, when the person at fault is still living and then makes the effort to do better, if and when they bounce back, it'll be the hope for, for all of us. We've all made mistakes. It'll be the hope for all of us to know, like, it doesn't end. It doesn't stop. It won't, you know, it doesn't have to be terrible. It's not all doom and gloom. Uh, yeah, I think that was the biggest thing about about that most recently. Uh, Man, I need to start inking this. Man, I have these Faber Castells that I use to ink, and they come in, you know, all sorts of sizes. For these small ones, I use extra small, fine, and then the brush for like big fat dually marks. I wonder if I should color it first. I should probably color it first. Yeah, let me throw some colors in here. There's not going to be much. I mean, it's all environment stuff. So, uh, and it's all like a lot of snow and things like that. So just like this map didn't have too much color to it, browns and blues. I imagine this is going to be a whole lot of brown and blue. Obviously, I'm going to throw some colors into those flags. There's going to be lights, which hopefully end up looking good and glowy. Um, but yeah, let me grab the colors, and I'll be right back. Let me grab these colors and sharpen them and all that stuff. All right. I'm back. You just heard me sharpen a bunch of colors. We're gonna see how many of these I could use. Um, Maybe I'll just start with the flags, since I know they're gonna be something big, bright, and beautiful. And I'm just gonna pepper these colors in randomly. Very festive, very. And these roofs are still going to be the same roofing styles as everything else, and you know, the gold and all that other stuff. Where are my other lights at? All right. Okay. Throw a little bit of colors into these things. Oh, I lopped her head off. Oh well. That happens. Yikes. There we go. Get some of these greens in there. And the reason why this society or culture that I'm working on now has all these bright colors is because of the fact that they live in this very plain, mundane, colorless um, uh, bit of the world. You know, everything is white and brown and gray and blue. Like, so these people, they use um, these colors to identify with um, to to brighten themselves up and brighten up their culture and their living. Like, you know what I mean? I know. I don't think that's normally how ice towns work. I mean, I live in Florida, so I don't, like, what do I know about ice and ice towns and ice people and people who live in the cold and prefer the cold? I have thoughts and an imagination about it, but I don't know if like I'm right about it. But that's kind of why I'm doing this, is because like these are my thoughts. This is kind of what I think and what I want to make, and you know, regardless of how people want to feel about it. Like, they wouldn't they wouldn't have those sort of color pigments available to them in that. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you, man. You know, I'm a bright, colorful person, so I'd like to think that the world in which I'm going to create is going to be a bright and colorful world. Not even necessarily for the better. You know, don't get it twisted. This isn't like a, oh, you know. Here we go. But yeah, just in case there was ever any confusion as to like why these people are like that. That's it. I think it'll make a little bit more sense once I get to the next continent, which, the more I think about it today, the more I'm kind of thinking I may not get to that as soon as I thought I was. I'm still just, I don't know how much focus I need to give. Are we focused, by the way? How's the camera look? We looking good? Artwork looking good? You can see what's happening. Kind of all these flags and festivals hanging that goes over the town. That way, you just have to look up and you can see all these flags and shit like that. And hopefully they help kind of dust off any of the wind blowing all the stuff, all this sweeping wind. And then, that's blowing through the mountains. And then all these mountains and clouds in the background. Hopefully this really illustrates like what this town looks like, you know what I mean? While these are all close-ups and things like that, I didn't want to like throw wind in here and disrupt it even more. Like I really wanted to get the structures to see what they look like, and obviously they're collecting snow and icicles from the cold temperature. But at least from this distance, zoomed back, and now that I don't need to worry about the map and all that stuff, I can really get like, how the wind is blowing cold bits of snow across everything, and how these people are living. Hopefully this is all making sense. Here we go. Let me grab some of this. I'm punching the mic. Grab some of this brown. Get all this wood in here. It's all wood and rock, and it's all brown, and the stuff that these people want to avoid. Ooh, all right. Got these statues overlooking anyone and everyone that comes up on a boat here. And get this rocky area, that rocky area. This guy, Red Roof. Alright. Back to the blue. Obviously, there's going to be a ton of blue. So yeah, I'm trying to think of how much to share this. I like share my story and all this stuff. Because I'm just getting started out here with doing this, and you know, I want to drive a lot of people to my Twitch channel, because this is going to be the main place to be live and interact with me and things like that. So there's that, and then there's you know, obviously I'm creating these things as the days go, and you know, this Twitch is free, so it's like technically you're getting this look and behind the scenes for free, at least this much of it, this portion of it. I try to hold back on the details a bit, just because, like I'll give you a little bit, be like, oh yeah, you know, the main character kind of cuts through here, which reminds me, I should probably throw the water in here. The water is reflecting that, so. And then he was going to be reflecting that one too, so it'll be dark down here where the ice overhangs. Maybe even a little bit dark coming off of there, but then the mountain kicks in, so the reflection has to kind of reflect that. There we go. Okay. So yeah, I want to be careful. That's not even right. But I don't want to share everything here. Like I think I'm sharing enough here as far as the content and all this stuff. You get the live action with me. Obviously these videos, I think they stay available for like a couple of weeks or something like that before they die off. So that way I collect these videos and then I re-upload them onto my YouTube channel, so that way anybody ever wants to like go back and check this stuff out, like it'll be available then and there, but not until like way later down the road. I think my YouTube channel is already like 2 weeks behind, or it's even a little bit more than 2 weeks behind my Twitch. So it's like if you got me on Twitch, you're already more up to date than anybody who's going to be watching me on YouTube. And that's kind of what I want, you know. If you watch videos on YouTube and you're into all the things that I'm into, chances are you'd benefit, or those people would benefit from having a Twitch account and be able to find all sorts of cool, dope creatives who, are doing things like I'm doing and playing video games and all that other stuff and creating content that way. So I still want this to be the main mode where I drive people to come here to watch this stuff. But that being said, I also post these things onto my Patreon, and these videos are immediately available on my Patreon after I finish them here on Twitch. So they'll be available here and Patreon simultaneously, and then YouTube down the road. And then obviously 2 weeks behind on 2 weeks after these things are uploaded, they disappear off Twitch, but they'll be available on my Patreon after those 2 weeks. So my Patreon is kind of like the middle bridge for the video content between Twitch and YouTube, which is, Twitch is obviously live, YouTube is way behind, and then Patreon is kind of like right in the middle, which is kind of where I want it. I think I like that setup. Yeah, the only added benefit to the Patreon is that you get the commissions by me. Since I draw so much, and if you're into the things I'm into, you're into like art and characters and getting commissions. You probably go to conventions, or at least went to conventions when they were still a thing. I can't wait for those to come back. But yeah, I think while I'm starting, because this is such a junior effort, I may need to make this stuff a little bit more available. Just for the masses. Like, think of it as like commercializing. And to commercialize my stuff, and I can't show nothing and say, hey, I have something, and show nothing. I have to say, hey, I have something and show something. Like, that's the way it works. And since I'm just starting, this is kind of all I have. So I may need to go like deep into doing this and showing this stuff off. And like I said, this isn't even all that important in the overall story. This is like a minor place. But I've already done so much research and I have so much material for this place that I don't think it's that crazy. I don't think it'll spoil my story at all. To be showing this stuff off and making it available for the masses, and making it available on social media and my website, because that's what I've been thinking about. I was like, man, I'm applying to these jobs and I want to get the concept design position. I need to have a concept design portfolio. And since I'm putting together all these concepts, like, it only makes sense for me to make a portfolio of that. But in order to do that, I would have to make it available for these companies to see. And now some companies, they'll let you provide them a link with a password and PDFs and all this other stuff, but other ones don't. They're pretty basic, where it's like, hey, you just have to apply. Half of them will ask you if you have a website, and but you don't get the opportunity to send them like a tailored PDF unless you know somebody within the company. And I think I've made that very clear that I don't know anybody, and it's not from a lack of trying. Because even the people I do know don't get back to me. It's pretty sad. Uh, yeah, let me throw some more colors back here. There's just not that much going on. There we go. And since these are mountains, let's get a little bit of that color in here. So I'm thinking if I just do a bunch of concept art for this area and I do more than I actually need to, it gives me the opportunity to continue developing concept art while continuing to develop my story, uh, while continuing to not give away my story for for free, or to kind of discount my patrons at Patreon, because that's where you get to learn most about this story, is through there. But since it's just a new start, I don't have too many patrons, so I don't have to worry about too many people getting upset with me for being like, hey, I thought this was supposed to be the exclusive content. It's like, no, the exclusive content is elsewhere. And then once I have enough people, like like have enough patrons, then I can go exclusive and be like, no, you can't get this content anywhere else. Like, it's only on Patreon. But right now, if I did it only on Patreon and I don't have enough patrons um, to uphold this sort of lifestyle and things like that, to uphold this kind of production, then I'm gonna sink. And obviously, that's not the goal here. Let's not sink, you know. Okay. So yeah, I may just continue to go ham on the concepts for this place. That way I can kind of I could do all these things. That's kind of my whole focus that I've always taken in life, is like, get the most bang for your buck. Growing up and not really having money, you learn to do stuff like that to get the most out of the least. And I'm not saying the least like, oh, I'm not putting any effort or anything into this. I'm putting all the effort into it. I'm putting everything I have into this, literally. I'm gonna get just a little bit of black in here for the shades, but then I'm gonna hit it with the blue, and then it'll really set it off. And then after I hit it with the blue, then I'll know where to put the where I could put the inks. I feel like I'm definitely going to need to put some inks in here, right? Like, I'm not really seeing it, but, like, I gotta ink it a little bit before I start dropping the snow in some of these areas. So yeah, I know it's gonna be kind of oxymoronish to think that I can gain patrons or anything like that, or if I'm gonna be releasing this content, but if the content is, oh man, it's hard to figure out these things, and it's embarrassing doing it like live, but it's how I'm living, man. I don't want to like pull the wool over anyone's eyes and make them, you know what I mean? I don't think there's anything wrong with wanting to be an honest man and make an honest living and to also live a dream at the same time. So trying to navigate those waters without any experience or any help or anybody who can like give feedback or direction on how to do that, like, you know, it's difficult. I'm kind of figuring it out live, and you know, if I'm successful at it, then it's the blueprint. It becomes the blueprint for anyone and everyone to do it as well, which I think is I think that'd be one of the greatest gifts I can give, because then we will have a world of, not a world, but you know what I'm saying. We'll have a slew of creators, of, you know, people who are like, he did it, I can do it. You know, unfortunately, I don't know anyone like that. All the people that I know and I follow, I don't know their backstories. I don't know how they got to that point. That's to say, like, I don't know who funded them. And it's an embarrassing confession to make, but it's something that rocks me a lot, is to think, like, who are you? How did you get this? Not to question anybody's talent, not to question anybody's ability, not to question that they actually did, you know, that they actually do deserve what they have. It's not that at all. It's to understand, like, how did you do this? How did you do this? Because I want to do it as well. And I don't want to step on your toes while I do it. I want to do it, and I want you to continue doing it. And I want more people to do it. And I want to be a part of a community of people who have done it. It being finds success in independence. How did you find success in independence? You know, I think a lot of people, you know, there's two ways of doing it. There's like the ground up way where, yeah, let me set all these down now. I think I can start hitting it, getting in with the blues now. There we go. Like, for instance, I have a neighbor, for instance. I just want to, like, get this off my chest just because I don't want to be misconstrued here with what I'm saying. I have a neighbor. She's an artist, and she doesn't have a job. She's always in some school. And she doesn't need a job, therefore she doesn't have a job, and she gets to live her best life. And I'm sure there's a bit of resentment in me about that. I'd be lying if I said there wasn't, uh, to people like that. But I also learned not to resent those people who are in a position like that. How can she do that? She has a successful father, and her father loves her, and he takes care of her bills, and she gets all the benefit of living a really good life. And she hasn't had to do anything really. I'm sure she has to do something. Like, you know what I mean? I don't want to say she doesn't do anything at all. Like, that's absolutely not it. Like, she's super cool. I like her. But it is kind of daunting because she always has like roommates and things like that. And I remember a roommate like blew up on her like, well, we don't have like parents, or our dads don't just pay our way through life. Like, we people have to work for a living. And it's like, yeah, we do, but I can't get mad at her because her dad is successful. I can't be mad at her because her dad loves her. That's the whole point of being a parent, is to, well, I mean, don't let me say it like that's the point. But you want your children to succeed. You want to give, often you hear about how people want to give their kids the life that they never had. And I believe that that's what that looks like. When that dad, when that father, when her father is successful, that he can pay through his way through life. And I don't even know his story. I'd love to get to know it. Um, and then he's successful, and he has a daughter, and then of course he wants his daughter to live her best life, and he sets that up for her. And he's like, "Hey, here's a home, here's a roof over your head, here's some bill money, um, and here's for an education. You know what I mean? Go do what you want to do, be who you want to be, live how you want to live." Like, I call that a success story. Now she gets, she's benefiting a lot from it, and I don't know how conscious of that she is. I don't know how much she takes that for granted or not. Like, that's not the point of what I'm talking about. But I I would love to be that man, to have success and to have children and support them and be like, hey, I got you set up. You know what I mean? Because we're all on this planet for so long. We have X amount of time. It's finite. And making sure we're still focused here. And it's like they say, it's on your gravestone. It's not about the date that you started and the date that you ended. It's about that little dash in between. What did you do in the time in between there? Did you lay down and take it? Or did you stand up and do something? I don't know about you, but I admire the people who stand up and do something. Um, I want to be those people. When I was working in graphic design, I didn't feel like I was doing that. I was creating stuff and it was cool, and I met really cool artists, and I got to work with some cool people, and we definitely did some really great projects. And but in the back of my head, I was like, I want to work on this story. I want to animate. I want to design characters. I want to bring these characters to life. That was always my dream since I was a kid. I want to do this. When do I get to animate characters if I'm wrapping vehicles? Oh, never. When do I get to come up with character designs when I work in the food industry? Oh, almost never. When do I get to, you know what I mean? Like, I did that for 10 years. For 10 years. I was talking about how I listened to the Joe Rogan Experience podcast a lot. And in that podcast, he had mentioned this one saying, and it sticks with me. I don't know the exact verbiage. I should probably look it up and all that stuff. I need to be a little more educated. He goes, most men lead lives of quiet discontent. It's so true. It's so true. I mean, considering all the people I went to college with, all the animators who I graduated with, how only one of us got into an animation company that, you know, like Disney, like companies that you want to work for when you get an animation degree. That only one of us got that job. Only one of us got a job working for Marvel, coloring comic book covers. Only one of us. That was 2 people out of everybody. And one of them was the greatest. You could see that happening for him. But another one, I was like, holy shit, he got that? That's awesome. And then there's other people who were they were like superheroes in college. Where I was like, oh my God, I want to marry this girl. She's great. And then she like sells insurance or something. And you're like, wait, what? You're like, why is she selling insurance? Like, doesn't she know she's the greatest? And it's like, yeah, most men lead lives of quiet discontent. I want to be able to speak with them about this stuff. A lot of, you know, the people that I made friends with, like my best friends in college, man, good times, man, but I hate to say it, they did nothing. They did nothing. At least I got into graphic design. At least I was able to do like art stuff. I hustled hard. I did my best. I pushed everything. And while I was doing that and living that quiet, discontent life, you keep up with your friends and you see what they're doing, and you hope that maybe they're doing well enough that you can kind of get in, and you know, you all come together again. And then I look at the friends I was the closest with, and I mean, at least one of them, the one that I was definitely the closest with, he's doing nothing. I don't know what he does for a living. I don't know if he has a job. I don't know how he lives. And you're afraid to ask, and I'm afraid to ask. I'm afraid to poke and prod, because you got to allow people to live their lives. And when I was going to college, I thought all of us were there to be the next Tim Burtons, to be the next Spielbergs, to be the next James Cameron, and to do everything that Kyle Coogler's doing. I thought that's what we were there to do. That's what I was there to do. Hey, you back? To be the next Junji Ito. Exactly. Like, I thought that that's why we all went to get this education, to move forward. Like, the way I was raised, to work hard and to really do stuff. And you don't get anything without putting something in. I put everything in, and I didn't get what I wanted in return. I didn't get much in return as far as like where I wanted to be and what I was getting. That quiet discontent was real. I'm on a rant right now, JJ. uh, you pop back in, and things got emotional. Um, it's just so crazy. So I'm thinking, like, basically what I'm talking about is sharing all this information, sharing this whole story, and how I'm probably gonna have to put this up on my website and things like that. At least just in the beginning, till it builds up. Like, that's where all this led to. Was like, this is where it all started, but yeah, a lot of people need to see this in order to want to be a part of it, like how I would like them to. You know what I mean? I need more JJs in my life, so to speak. I need more people like you, man. I need and it's been great, you know what I mean, doing all this streaming stuff. So it's like, I'm thinking how I may need to put at least the concept work that I'm doing for this ice place that's not as important or integral to the overall story. Like, I may need to just go hard on this, create the best portfolio, and do a lot of the dopest concept art based around this part. That way, I get, I have a portfolio to show to try to get these concept art jobs, and also to at least keep you and people like you coming back to see me work on something cool and dope, and for people to maybe want to join my Patreon, so that way they can get more behind the scenes into the story and things like that. Like, I was talking about how I think I may need to like post this stuff onto my website, and why this stuff is so important, and how I'm trying to like juggle several things simultaneously. And yeah, it led to me going to like college, and how I don't have connections in the industry, and how I see a lot of the people that I went to school with like not doing that. A lot of them aren't even doing art, and it's a shame, man, because they were great. They were great artists, and they had dreams and stuff like I did. And now I don't know what they are. Even the best of them, they're like photographers now. And I went to school with them for 4 years. They didn't want to be photographers. Yeah, thanks. Um, but they're photographers. I remember I went to one of us who, he just wanted to learn how to do like cartoony designs, but he was a tattoo artist, but he got an animation degree because he wanted to learn cartoony stuff so he can make those cartoony type of tattoos. Makes sense. He opened up a tattoo shop, and I remember when I went to that opening to, celebrate him and all that stuff, and, give him his due, let the man have his day. He was a great artist, and he does great tattoos, and hell, I hope one day I can afford them. But I remember going to that tattoo shop opening, and running into a bunch of our friends from college, of course, and they were all photographers. And I'm like, wait, what? They all had cameras strapped around them, and I was like, uh, and it was like photographers for photographer's sake. It wasn't like, oh no, this is for animation. I'm just here to take like pictures and whatever, get better at, establishing shots or framing or anything like that. It had nothing to do with animation. They were just like photographers to be photographers. And it was like, if you want to be a photographer, that's great. But we spent 4 years and racked up a hell of a lot of student loan debt for animation. They had photography curriculum there. If you wanted to be a photographer, you could have wouldn't you have signed up to do photography and learn that instead? You know what I mean? And I was talking about the quote of most men lead lives of quiet discontent, and that's what I mean. Like, I feel like these guys are animators, but they're running around like photographers, and it's like, where do you see this going? I did graphic design for 10 years. It was great, but it wasn't animation. It sure as hell wasn't animation. So it wasn't what I wanted to do. Uh, and I could only imagine that it's got to be something like that for them to be photographers. They're probably like, oh, maybe it'll lead to animation. Like maybe they're making the same mistake that I did. And I want to talk to them about that, but you can't talk to people about stuff like that because you might offend them. I don't want to offend my friends. I lost enough of them as it is. I can't. I don't want to afford to lose them or for them to be like, you know what, Andrew's an asshole because he questioned me being a photographer. I only racked up $100,000 in debt to become an animator, and here I am running around like a photographer and didn't get the photographer degree. And I was like, why not rack up 100 grand in debt in photography school and become a photographer, be the best photographer ever, and then pay off your student loan debts doing photographic jobs. That's all. I mean, I'm ranting hardcore, man. I don't like it. Yeah, let me. I gotta start inking. I don't know if there's gonna be much to ink here, cause it's all pretty solid. I mean, the way it is. So yeah, I'm guessing this inking isn't gonna be much. It's just gonna be to like highlight the low light. Yeah. I mean, that's the point of what I'm doing here. Vibe hard with the thoughts. I mean, that's the whole point of the title. I think when you stepped out, I started talking about where the name, the Andrew Glowczewski experience, came from and why I call it that. And I mean, not to get back into that story, but just to say, just to let you know, like, this is what this is. Like, if you tune into my channel, it's because you're tuning in to get my experience on things. And the best I can hope for is that people will learn something, or people can see like, oh, they're not alone in similar experiences of like, oh, you know what, I've noticed that too, and I don't notice anybody else noticing it, so I felt alone in noticing things like that, and I haven't been able to talk about them. And then I came to the Andrew Glowczewski experience, and now all of a sudden, here's this guy who's noticing similar things when it comes to the art world and all that stuff. And what a breath of fresh air. that somebody else isn't just noticing these same things, but talking about them and shedding light on them. Because I don't think there's enough people shedding light on it. The most that I've ever heard was that saying, most men lead lives of quiet discontent. It's so true, man. And you can't... I couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't do it anymore. So this is... I'm 32 years old, so it's like, this is the do or die type of stuff, man. I'm either going to do it or I'm going to die not ever having done it. And I'm not doing anything but getting older. I was 21. I was 17 when I graduated high school. I was a year ahead. I was 21 after getting my bachelor's degree in college. I was a year ahead. And now here I am, 32, and just blending into the background of everyone else. And, and then there's people younger than me doing the things that I would like to do. And now they're ahead of me. And it's like, oh man, how did it come to this? How did I let this happen? Is it because I didn't go for it? Is it because I didn't? It's all good, man. I these things are like hugs, and being able to speak with you and things like that, and all the other people who follow and pop in from time to time. We get to talk, and like I said, I get to talk about my experience with things. So they'll ask questions, and kind of like how you asked about how to get started. With the portraits, it's like, just to have that experience to tell you those are what I consider to be like the hugs in this digital world, in this yeah, is that gonna be it? Yeah, I think that's it for the inks. Not too much to ink there, but I am gonna use some of these white paint markers to get some of this, to get some snow in there. There's got to be a few snow-capped locations that I can put in here. Oh, you know what I didn't do? I didn't get the water. And that was kind of the whole point. So yeah, man, just you stopping by in and out like that, not to sound weird, but those are like the hugs for me. That's why I started this channel. I saw what Twitch was, because, I followed people on YouTube, and then I saw that they had a Twitch channel, and me not really knowing what Twitch was, I opened an account, I followed the people that I liked on YouTube, and I still watch their streams and stuff like that when they go live. And I got to feel a more engaged experience with the people that I liked from YouTube. And it was like, okay, this is cool. And that's kind of why I started this whole YouTube account thing, was for that live engagement. Because I was like, you know what, if these people, they're telling their story, they're sharing their experience, they're doing all that. And I've been trying to start a podcast for the longest time with friends and things like that, and none of them ever worked out, because it's just hard for people to try to do stuff, and it's hard for people to make a decision on finalizing concepts and just honestly, like I told you about the thing, is to just do it, just get started. You'd be amazed at how many of my friends who I wanted to start podcasts with and start wanting to do projects with and work together and collaborate and do all this great stuff with, how many of them I was like, yo, we just need to do it. We just need to do it. We just need to start. We just need to do it. And once we do it and once we get it going, it'll go somewhere and it'll be something. Don't cry, man. Nah, this ain't a place for tears, man. Happy tears. Um, but you'd be amazed how many of them I was just like, we just need to do it. Let's just start. I have a friend who records, who makes beats and has a recording studio. And he has all this stuff so that he can make beats and do all this awesome shit. And he sat here and I had conversations with him for 2 years. 2 years of talking with this guy, and every conversation was the same. And this is a friend of mine. And he was always like, yo, gotta do that podcast. Those are your tears. That's what's up. He's like, we're gonna do this podcast, man. We're gonna do this podcast. It's gonna be dope. It's gonna be cool. Yo, do you want to do a podcast? I was like, I definitely want to do a podcast. You can't stop me from talking. I could fill up so much air. You know what I mean? And that's all a podcast is just talking. But when it becomes genuine and when it becomes something relevant and something that people can identify with, that's when the podcast actually becomes something, regardless of what it is or where it began. And I was explaining this to him, and we talked about it for 2 years. He's sitting here with all this recording studio equipment, and it's all hooked up and it's all ready to go, and all we had to do was sit down and talk with the record button on. And he couldn't do it. He couldn't do it. I don't know why. He just never did. He just never did. And it got to the point where I was like, I can't even have this conversation anymore. We've had this conversation too many times to not have pulled the trigger on it. We can't. Like, I just couldn't. And maybe I'm an asshole. Maybe. But I was like, I got to do this myself then. I got to do whatever I can. I'm not a recording artist. I don't know how to record. I don't know anything about this equipment. It wasn't until I started doing this that it was like, oh, it's oh, my recording from a tablet doesn't work. Oh, I can't do dual screen without two computers. Oh, I don't have two computers. Oh, I can't afford two computers at the moment. I won't be able to dual screen. Oh, like you take the leap and then you fall and you figure everything out on the way down until hopefully you catch a gust of wind and it lifts up, sort of, to speak artsy fartsy. But it's like I'm figuring this shit out, and this is what I wished I could have done with my friends. I wish we could have did this together. I wish I could have been better at convincing them to do it this way. I wish I could have been better to convince them of, we just need to do it. I'm a pretty blunt person. I'm not like smart or savvy. You know what I mean? Like I'm not like a super person or who knows how to like use their brain and stuff like that. Like, I'm from the heart 100% of the time. That's what happens when you're Latino. You're from the heart forever. There's that saying, you wear your heart on your sleeve. And sometimes it's said as a good thing, sometimes it's not said as a good thing. And for me, it's been said as not a good thing for a lot of times. And it's like, I don't know how to be any other way. I've tried it. I've tried doing things differently. I've tried to do things in ways that people will uh, maybe be more receptive or more, but it felt disingenuous. I'd have to like kind of skirt around the subject matter, or I'd have to skirt around like the whole sensitivity thing of and I lost friends in the process, and it's like, god damn, am I doing it wrong? Like, I didn't want to lose friends. I just wanted them to see things the way that I saw them, or at least have them be able to convince me to see things the way that they do, because maybe I'm seeing it wrong. You know what I mean? But if they're not trying to convince me that I'm seeing things the wrong way, well, then how wrong could I possibly be? Still not saying that I'm not wrong. I could definitely be wrong. But yeah, man, just things like that. That was so disappointing. Just having this guy with all this recording equipment, a friend of mine who wanted to do it, and then I'm like, yeah, let's do it, let's do it, let's do it. And then him just finding any excuse and every excuse on why we couldn't. Hey, let's talk about doing it, but let's never do it. And it's like, after 2 years of that, I'm not rolling anymore. I'm not rolling with that anymore. Sorry. Like, and now that we've been talking about it for 2 years, my interest in doing it is through the roof. And I'm not gonna sit there all like constipated, like wishing. No, I'm just gonna do it. So after with following people from YouTube onto Twitch, and seeing the Twitch experience and what it could be, and being like, oh, well, here's my podcast platform. And, I always jokingly said I was going to call it the Andrew Glowczewski experience. But then when it came down to like having to make a title for my first video, I was like, well, I don't want to be corny, but I also don't want to be disingenuous. And I did always say that I'd call it the Andrew Glowczewski experience. And now that I don't have any ideas, guess what? It's the Andrew Glowczewski experience. And here we are. Here I am. And this is my experience, man. I hate talking foul about people that I like and people that I respect and friends. I don't like it at all. That's why I always avoided it. But if I can't discuss it, I kind of wouldn't have anything to discuss, because sadly, that's the experience. Sadly, the experience is one of just disappointment from around the corner. And it's not like, oh, it's all doom and gloom, or that it's all disappointment, or that all my friends never did anything. Maybe my friends who became photographers, they just didn't know that they wanted to be photographers. I don't know. I wish I could talk to them about that. I wish, that they can clarify it for me. But, people people are sensitive. They don't want to talk about things, and you gotta respect it. Or I have to respect it. And I do. And I do. It is what it is, man. They're over there doing what they do. I'm over here doing what I do. And, you know, it's my goal to just make the art, you know what I mean? And to make a living off of this art. I've done too much work, and I've worked for way too many companies in my life, and just been thrown aside at the end of the day, like carelessly, for me to sit here and think like, okay, this is what life is. This is what life is about. This is all that it's ever going to be, and I just need to accept it. It's like, no. There are people who are working hard and happy, and they're successful. All right, that's enough of that snow. I need to grab this joint and highlight this. Oh yeah, isn't that what I wanted to do? I didn't throw those in there yet. So yeah, it's hard. It's hard to pivot from not pursuing your dream to pursuing your dream, and just expecting everyone to kind of be on board with it, or expecting everyone to understand it, because the quiet discontent is real, you know. There's that whole saying of crabs in a bucket, and that's the feeling that I get. That's the feeling that I got in even just working professionally as a graphic designer. It's like, you know, you have a team, you do all this amazing work, clients are happy, yet and still, your own teammates are finding ways to hold you back, or keep you down, or to not let you feel like good about doing a good job. And, you know, the whole politics, office politics, and all that stuff. It's that on top of like, oh, this isn't even what I want to do for a living. It's a powerful motivator. I think it's a powerful sentiment that a lot of people might be able to uh, agree with, or something, or identify with. You know, if you're living your dream and you're running into stuff like that, that's rough. But if you're not living your dream and you're running into stuff like that, get out. Get out. I mean, that's what I did. Yeah, so hopefully this is the beginning of me being able to get into an industry that I want to get into, and working for companies that I want to work for, creating product that I want to create. And hell, if I have to deal with the office politics after that, at that point, it's like, well, at least it's a step up, because I'm doing what I want. Just need to get there somehow. Yeah, thanks for the claps, JJ, man. That's I know you said you were going to sleep or something, so hopefully hopefully this gives you good dreams and dreams on a more positive vibe. You know, it gives you something to look forward to in your sleep. Nothing like a good dream, right? I know as adults, most adults, they stop dreaming, or so to speak. Uh, but yeah, every now and then I'll catch a good dream and it's like, whoa, that felt great. Like, more of that, please. There we go. Now this is starting to look like something. No sleep, bro. I'm with you till the end. Yeah, like I said, these are the finishing touches here. You know, once I'm done inking and then I start using these white markers, I'm getting close to the finish. Ah, that's what I'm missing. That's what it was. Okay. Oh, how was the camera this time around, by the way? It's so odd. After my stream yesterday, my tablet that I streamed from like died on me. And I had a moment of panic. Like the video uploaded and then I reset my tablet. I just restarted it like I normally would any other day, and then it just never rebooted back up. It just died completely. I ended up going to the store, and I got a new tablet, and last night was the first stream that I had on this tablet. And then today was the first one, but you're the first person to see the old video and the new video. I tried viewing it last night. It's kind of more clear. Yeah, I think the camera's just a little bit better on focusing. Like the other one, it took like an extra second to focus, I think. Yeah, because I was watching it last night, rewatching my stream from last night to try to see if. And I was like, oh no, it's still. Like what I see from my screen, it's super clear, but then after I hit the upload button, it's like it kind of blurs out a bit, and I'm like, oh, this is what people are saying. Again, grassroots. Grassroots, man. I'm gonna, as soon as I can get better equipment, I will. Believe that. Just, priorities and things like that. This will have to do. There we go. Yeah, it might be the same quality. It might just be a Twitch thing. Of like, hey, if you're gonna stream from a tablet and not from two computers, like all the big baller Twitch streamers do, you're just gonna get rendered to this 720. this funky 720 that has to constantly refocus, because I've tried like playing with the settings in my videos, but they don't seem to have any effect on Twitch and when I'm streaming on Twitch. All right, last one. I love this one. There we go. Whatever happens, happens for a reason. Yeah. It's that's what I walked away from when I watched Cowboy Bebop. Is Spike Spiegel. That was, he's popular for saying that, and I love that. He's the ultimate cool guy, the ultimate cool protagonist, and if you've watched Cowboy Bebop, he'll say that whatever happens, happens. And I was a kid when I watched that, so I was like, okay. And then my mother would say that a lot too. Try to take a chance on stuff, and hey, whatever happens, happens. Absolutely. Okay. Get some snow. These rooftops. Some of these lights. There we go. I think I'm making good time today. I'm gonna. Oh, okay. Yeah, I think that's it for the most part. So how's that look, man? Oh yeah, that's what I'm missing. I want to throw some more of these in down here on these little stalactites and stalagmites. Sweet. Does it look like a little town at the foot of a mountain with a water gathering type of port sort of thing by a great giant rapid? Cowboy Bebop. Need to see that one too. It's been more than 3 hours, I guess. Have I been streaming more than three? Probably. I probably have. But yeah, as long as it looks like a windy, snowy, cold place with a town of some colorful, vibrant people living there, it's all good. I don't have any people in here. Maybe that's why it looks a little dead. But I can't draw that at this scale. Maybe I could just throw the white down and throw little colored dots on the white and be like, oh no, those are people. All right, that's all it needs to. As long as this looks like the type of people who would live like in this. Let me see if I can pull this down. Like this region of the map. Like if you were to look at a map and you saw something like this, and then you zoom in and you're like, oh yeah, this is what it looks like for those people. This is how they're living. As long as it looks like that, mission accomplished. But yeah, other than that, oh, I think this is quite the episode. I still got some stuff I need to do today, and yeah, man, this is it. Oh, is that a green dragon in the water? Over here? Yeah. These colors for this dragon, I kind of just threw them together. He's actually a character that pops up at what point in the story? This part of the world, as far as my main character visiting it, kind of happens in the middle of the story. So let's say the story is 40 years long. This is maybe 15 to 20 years into my main character's storyline, where he comes across this place. And at the end of the story where he comes across this place, because this happens around halfway through that story, like story within a story, da 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 da. Again, I've done a ton of writing on this. He in the middle of that story, he lands here, leaves here, goes and continues his journey elsewhere, doing other things, and then where it ultimately ends up is, at least the way I have it planned out, is he comes across this dragon and ends up fighting it, and that happens also. So I did these maps. Let me see if I can pull it up, just so I can show you the world map, because this is just like the southernmost continent. So let me pull up the world map, so you can see the entire world of what I'm talking about. Maybe it'll make a little bit more sense. Let me move this book and grab this. So let me get this out of the way. And I have this sitting next to me while I work on all this environment stuff, so that way I can keep all the work and sketches that I did in the environments years ago, when I first started writing and tried to plan all this stuff out. So here's the bottom hemisphere of the world map. Here's the top hemisphere. And obviously this circle is the whole world, right? Everything that I've been drawing up until this point is just this. And you can see here that I have this kind of sea dragon here. So that's who that green dragon is. Let me see if I could get them both on the camera. I don't know if the camera's too zoomed in. So yeah, that green sea dragon is that sea dragon here that I did. I don't know how many years ago. Maybe 2 years ago I drew that map, or at least started drawing that map. So yeah, let me get back to the world map for a second, just so I can kind of put things into perspective. Focus. Hold on. Camera needs to focus. It does this sometimes. There we go. Focus on me. And then so yeah, that whole map is just of this southern continent. You can see like this is kind of where I have like mountain ranges. And then the town I put in here, and then you know, there's like it's all ice and forest, and all this was supposed to be just like crazy mountains. So this is kind of like where the ice dragon is, and then that river flow goes along these mountains. And then here's, you know, all the mountains in the way background of the illustration that I just did, like this mountain range right here. Let me pull up what I just did today. So yeah, that river goes there, and then like all these mountains in the background here are I'm making a mess of things. Focus. There we go. Are all these mountains here. And this is what I'm saying about after I get done with this area, and you can see like there's a whole world that's I've yet to get to yet. That this landmass connects to this landmass. And that's what I'm going to be working on next, is kind of taking maybe this much of the map. So after I get done with all this ice stuff, let me try to frame it. I'm going to work on the map some more, and it'll probably encompass all of this. So that square drawing map that I have, the next square drawing I'm going to make is of this, where it starts where the mountains are down here, and it builds up all this. And obviously I call it, you know, exotic winter here because I was just putting together thoughts and ideas, and I just needed to get them out. I think it's called something else now. So this is still a little bit old, but it's still a good representation of everything, because in other sketches it's all broken up into different, like this continent, that continent, da 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 da, and then I finally put it all together. Yeah, dude, I'm telling you, I've been working, man. You see what I do in just the last couple of days. Now try to imagine what I do in 5 years, or what I can do in 5 years, and like these are all environment like sketch studies that I did to try to piece the world together and try to put together concepts and ideas. So yeah, the next map, like I've only gone and done this much, but the next one's going to be cover a little bit more ground. You know, you get some of these islands in here, get all these mountain ranges, all this jungle and forest, and you know, there's cities along the coast, and there's like ruins and old temples and stuff that are all in here with some dope characters. And then you can see I have like a mermaid there. I wonder what that means. And there's like all these islands here. And then yeah, you know, just some stuff. So yeah, so far I've only begun working on this much, which like I said isn't a crazy amount. My main character is from around this region up here, and he goes around and travels and da 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 da. You know, whole One Piece thing, Naruto thing, where you have a young character and it goes around traveling, doing this and that, and you know, characters and meeting people and stuff happens and drama and oh my god, and then ultimately halfway through the story he ends up here, and he ends up, you know, meeting the ice dragon, and ultimately ends up, you know, going on a journey and fights this sea dragon, essentially, in one form or another. Uh, Again, this is stuff that I really haven't shown people because I've been scared. It's like, oh no, I don't want them to see the name Dragon 4. I don't want them to know about Exotic Winter. That's what I mean when I say things like, oh, I'm afraid or I'm scared. Is because I don't know how much of this I can tell without people just like ripping it off. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, you can see like this ice place that I've worked on is almost nothing compared to everything else. And yeah, yeah, man. I've like I said, you know, I'm an old guy and I've always wanted to work and do things, and for whatever reason in my life, I can't seem to uh, catch a break as far as working in the field and telling stories and being able to do jobs that I love while I can work on stuff like this and you know, maybe find people and work on a team and do things. Uh, yeah, it takes an insane mind. You got to think about Junji Ito, man. How crazy do you think he is? Attack on Titan is on its last season, and there's a whole lot of talk going on about that right now. And I'm learning more and more about the creator of that show. And you know, how crazy do you think uh, Attack on Titan, Isayama, I believe is the name. Uh, how crazy do you think that man must be, or the One Piece guy, Oda, Echiro Oda, I believe is the name. Um, that man's been doing One Piece for 20, 30 years. How crazy do you think this is? So yeah, I mean, I'm aware of the insanity that it takes to be able to put together something. And like I said, I don't know if it was today or yesterday. I think it was last night when I was streaming. I was talking about the pain of of not being able to do this because I have all this in me, and it's 40 years and there's 400 characters, and it's all based around one character. You know, there's only one main character, so I don't want there to be like, oh, you have 400 characters. How are you going to tell their story? It's like, no, no, no. I'm telling one character story. There just happens to be 400 characters in this universe that are going to have like names and who's going to deal with the main character a little bit here and there from time to time. Uh, you know, it's not like Luffy is the only One Piece character. It's not like Eren Yeager is the only Attack on Titan character. Like, there's a lot of characters. So, yeah, you know, 40 years and 400 characters, it's a lot, but it really is pretty standard, I think. But yeah, that's why whenever I'm working on this ice stuff, you hear me saying like, "Ooh, I can't wait to move on. I can't wait to move on." I don't want to rush this, but I certainly want to make sure I do my due diligence and do justice by every aspect of this world. Um, you know, not only for myself but for you, and you know, and for everyone else who I want to share this with. I I'm not a half stepper. I'm not someone who doesn't, you know, I don't know. I work hard and I do stuff, and I'm hoping to be able to share all of this one day. So you could see where this is a rough beginning map of like, hey, this is the world and this is what goes on in here. And then I have a digital version of that map where I took all my character concepts and then I placed them over the map. So I have all my character maps established as well. as well as the locations, like the little thumbnail sketches that I did of the locations. So I have all those established over, but that's all digital. It's on my laptop, on my hard drive, and stuff like that. But yeah, like that's what all this is for that I'm doing here. My only a bit of a regret, and you know you can't live with regrets, but a bit of a regret that I have is not starting sooner. I waited, I waited, I waited. I tried to get jobs. I tried to get employed. I tried to work with people. I tried to do things. And you try to be happy and do stuff, and you don't get to uh, when you don't get to do it, you know, you start to go a little bit crazy. And this is what my crazy looks like. I guess. But at least it's aimed, it's focused, it goes to something. I know right now it's all nothing but a world map and a bunch of characters. Like I could show you all the character sketches, but they're just sketches. You know what I mean? They're not like concept art that's you can look into the character's eye and you can look at, you know, the clothes that the character's wearing. Like that's the stuff that I want to show. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. It's pretty intense, man. You know, this is welcome to my channel. This is what I aim to do, and I only aim to get better at it. Like I said, I have the story written out. I have all the characters established. I have all the locations in the world and the names of things all established. I have the good guys and bad guys. I have everything done and ready to go. Now I just need to do it. And I mean, in order to get there, it's like, okay, I'm just gonna do the damn thing. So yeah, I'm just jumping on, and I don't know how much more stuff I'm gonna have to do or want to do for here. I know I really want to get some of the characters down because you know you see the world map and you see these little close-ups of locations and buildings and structures and things like that. That's all good, but I love doing characters. I love doing character design and all that, and that's what I always try to apply towards, and I never get the jobs. Yes, sir. Um, so yeah, I'm super excited to be able to get to some of the characters, and because this is such a small part of the world, there's only a handful of characters. I mean, there's only two that I can think of. So it may only be two characters from here, and then I move on to the next the next environment. Uh, but yeah, that's a little backstory. This is the type of stuff that I want to share and provide for people, and you know, hopefully they dig it. Hopefully they dig it enough to come back, man. You know, I really appreciate you and you stopping by earlier and then bouncing out and then still even coming back again. Well, thanks, man. I appreciate that. You know, I think the hard part's over. Um, as far as getting this started and getting this going, like I said, I put 5 years into it, and I plan on putting like another 30 um, into it. Uh, so I think the hard part's over as far as getting over the hump of how do I do it? How do I create a character? How do I tell a story? How do I do this and that? I think I've gotten past that part in the past 5 years, that I've done all this background work that nobody knows about. Um, now it just comes to like one, sharing it and putting it out there, and then two, uh, getting people to want to be involved in it and get people invested in it and get people who want to do that. Uh, hey, I don't know what that emoji is. It looks dope though. It looks like a world map or like a world grid, or maybe the phases of a moon, like what a piece of potato I am. Oh man, piece of potato. I don't know what that means. I'm Polish, and we like potatoes. My last name's Polish. I'm Polish on my dad's side. I'm in love with potatoes. Oh, okay. Oh, that's so weird. Mind blown. Your that emoji looks one way on my tablet and it looks another way on my smartphone that I keep the chat on. Yeah, I see it now. Yeah, yeah. It's so weird how different devices show you different emojis. That's awesome. I see it's the mind blown one. Yeah, that's what I hope to do. You know, it's I want to create those experiences that I had when I was a kid, watching Dragon Ball Z, and if I can have people who want to tune in, uh, you know, back to back, and enjoy this, like I would love it. I think what I'm doing that's a little bit different is I'm showing the production as it goes, so that way by the time production is done, and then I start doing the comic book, you know, the comic book is still a whole nother thing. That's where the story comes in. That's when I actually start telling the story. That's when this is all just production art. This is just the background. This is just the lay of the land. Once I start telling the story and getting the dialogue in there and the character interactions, that's what it's all about. That's what I'm trying to build towards, and hopefully I'll have something of an audience by the time I get there. Hopefully they'll enjoy this stuff enough, um, that by the time I get to the story is still going to be compelling. Where it's like, holy shit, like now the story is going, because I don't have to do character art and background art and environment art and world art anymore, and I don't have to design props anymore. I could just start telling these characters stories and get these people emotionally invested in what happens to them. I was in fifth grade when Frieza. Spoiler alert if you didn't watch Dragon Ball Z. When Frieza killed Krillin, I was in fifth grade, man. I cried because I loved Krillin. Krillin was one of my favorite characters, and yeah, that was super emotional. I want people to be as invested in my characters by the time I get around to telling that story, and the things that happen with them, because again, I have the good guys, the bad guys, and then all the things that happen in between. And yeah, I got some tragic characters. I can't wait to see. I can't wait to tell their stories. You know, and my main character and his journey. I can't wait to tell his story. Because I think a lot of people are gonna have a lot of things to say about it. So that I appreciate you stopping by, man. And this was a pretty cool stream. Hopefully, I don't rant too much too often. Um, Hopefully, I just rant enough to get it out of my system and then don't have to do it again. I don't want to be the rant guy like that. Man, I need a drink of water. Hold on. So yeah, that's later on. I'm gonna come back to work on this one that I've been working on. This is the one from last night's stream, and hopefully I'll finish the shading. Uh, Work on this wing a little bit, uh, fill in the arms, get that ear, get the banner, and then that'll probably be the entire stream. And then I'll color on Sunday. But and then tomorrow morning I'll jump back onto this. I'll try to get more in, on the weekends, but I gotta go. I gotta jump on and check emails and stuff like that. Shit, it's already noon. Yeah, it's been a minute. This is a long one. Well, is this like a side project? I'm making it my main project. I guess I don't know. It's hard to say because it's the main project. It's the thing that I want to do. Oh, or are you talking about this? Um, this is just designs that I do for fun. I'm making merch, like I have t-shirt stores and all that stuff. Uh, and I have things that I always wanted to design. I listen to a lot of podcasts, and I have a lot of ideas that get introduced to me, and then as an artist, I need to recreate them. And because I have the graphic design experience and the printing experience and all that stuff, and all the skills in tattooing and calligraphy and all that stuff, I put them to work when I design stuff like this. Hopefully, one day, what's gonna end up happening is when I get to the story and I start telling the story and writing the story and doing all that stuff. Um, my designs are going to shift from working on things that aren't related to it to working on characters that are related to it. So that way I'll make T-shirt and print designs and all that other stuff like merch that's based on my show, rather than just random things like this, where uh, you know stuff like this is just to keep me doing stuff and keep other skills sharp, because I have to tap into a completely different skill set to make stuff like this. And then I got to tap into another set of skills in order to make stuff like that. And, I've done a lot of studies and stuff like that in my life. So it's just a lot. So yeah, when I work on this, it's a completely different thing than when I work on stuff like this. But hopefully one day the two become one, and then the merchandise that I design is going to be based on the environments and characters that I create here. You know what I mean? But yeah, because like that design here, let me pull this out, is the third. It's the third set. Like this is the second picture from that. So it's like here's this design, and that one was put together, and I'm making it. It's already a shirt that I have on sale on my stores. I have a Teespring store where I have like all over print tees that are printed from top to bottom, front to back, and it's with these three designs on them. And then I'm gonna, put together like more streamlined shirts of like regular screen printed and things like that of these. I just haven't done it yet, and that's kind of the stuff that I do when I stop streaming. More money, more problems. You damn right. Um, but yeah, when I'm not streaming, this is the stuff that I'm doing. I'm on social media marketing. I'm setting up, updating my website, setting up merch. I'm doing all this other stuff in the background, and behind the scenes. But yeah, the love and the passion goes into this, where this is kind of like the main thing that I want to do. And then I'm also looking for work on the side. I'm freelancing, doing like characters and illustrations and things like that, and then I'm applying to jobs. So my whole schedule is full and stacked. So being able to stream and show this stuff off and do these things and chat with you and people like you, I mean, that's kind of like that's like the best part of the day for me. That's why I look forward to this and I try to make this my main thing. Um, but yeah, you know, I got to tune off so I can go ahead and do all that other stuff. So with that said, I'm going to I'm gonna let you go, and I appreciate you for stopping by and letting me kind of do all this stuff. I'm GMrDrew. GMrDrew.art is my website. GMrDrew on all socials. And you've watched the Andrew Glowczewski Experience, episode 38, Water Bank. Because, you know, these people need to have a water bank in order to live. And yeah, man. Thanks for stopping by.